And we're live. Hello, everybody. It's me, John, your host, and I'm joined by my co-host, my good friend Sam. We are the Bronies UK, and we are here finally. A little bit late. Obviously, the series has been out for just a couple of days or so. Yes, G5 Make Your Mark Chapter 2, the series, Netflix series, G5 My Little Pony. I said G5 about 3 times there. Anyway, so this is our live discussion thoughts. So this will be my first time talking about Chapter 2. And I noticed Sam had done a video. I haven't watched it yet, but no doubt he'll probably go through this some thoughts process that was in the video as well, no doubt. So Sam, we'll start off with you. What were your general thoughts of the series?
Well, I will be 100% honest. It's not G4. It is not Friendship is Magic.
Definitely, yes, it's not.
I mean, I'm always going to be, and it's maybe a little bit sort of, I don't know, I suppose you could call sort of, I don't know, prejudice on my part, but I will always be a G4 fan, and I will always prefer Friendship is Magic over Generation 5. I fully appreciate that Generation 5 is obviously aiming at a completely different, more modernized audience. Obviously, for example, the fact that they are bringing in, modern technology, social media, computers, all that, that makes perfect sense. And it's a clever notion. It works. It does work for a modern audience, especially if you're talking at the modern age, modern kids. They're going to be more interested in something that speaks to them and has technology like social media and the what. So yeah, I mean I'm not saying obviously that I don't like G5. I do like G5. It's just that I'll always be a G4 fan. So from my perspective, G4 is my preferred series. I do like G5, and I will give it this. Chapter 2 of Make Your Mark, the animation was far better, smoother than it was in the special. The animation was a bit ropey. But in these 8 episodes, it's been really good. Obviously, it hasn't been on the same spec as the film, but it's been good. So I can't complain there. Story wise, I am enjoying the story. I'm really interested in where it's going. As I said, I have a lot of theories I want to discuss about certain characters. They definitely haven't lost the MLP flair. Obviously, the music, the characters, the whole group work really well together. So I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. It's for the modern MLP, if you will, it works. But just solely from a G4 fanboy, if you will, from a Brony who sort of was introduced to the franchise because of G4, I'll always be a G4 fan. But I will say this, yeah, Sunny Star Scout, yeah, is my favourite of the G5 characters, but Misty is a very close second. I really like her character. So I want to discuss something with you, mate, and anybody out there watching. Okay, so it's not really spoiler territory because even if you haven't seen all 8 episodes, you will know who Opaline is. So I have a theory. At the moment, it's purely a theory. There's no evidence to back this up. There's nothing in any of the 8 episodes to suggest this, but I think it'd be very interesting if this turns out to be true. So, as we all know, spoiler alert if people haven't watched episode 2 yet, but as we know, Opaline was Susan Alicorn, who at some point tried to steal all the magic in Equestria, and Twilight Sparkle stopped her, and then created the Unity crystals to protect the magic of the 3 tribes. So, we know from Opaline herself, as she states, alicorns are immortal. So that's been confirmed. That's canon now. We know alicorns are immortal. So, that indicates Twilight Sparkle will still be around, along with Celestia, Luna, Cadence, Flurry Heart. They must all still be around somewhere. Now, this might blow your mind, but this is purely a theory. This is a Sam theory. So, Bronies and fans of MLP and G5, let me know what you think.
Expect your brains to melt.
I think Opaline is Twilight Sparkle's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing. She's obviously been around a long time. She seems to know who Twilight is, seems to have a personal history with her. Not just because, Twilight stopped to try and steal magic, but I get the strong impression she is Twilight's daughter. And largely, I'm going with this theory for two reasons. One, her colour scheme is, dark purples. Twilight's colour scheme was a mix of light and obviously dark purple. So again, quite possible that that's because Twilight's her mother. She's got that colour scheme. Secondly, I believe, again, theorising, she's a natural born alicorn. I don't think she gained her wings, so to speak, like Twilight did. I think she was born an alicorn like Flurry Heart was. So she's a natural born alicorn. And thirdly, based off whatever Twilight is mentioned, whenever like Opaline's around when it's a scene she's in, you get the impression she has a personal relationship with her, that it isn't just the fact that Twilight stopped her from gaining all the magic of Equestria. You get the impression that there's something else there, that they know each other beyond just being enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's purely a theory, but as I say, I am fairly quite certain that Opaline is Twilight's daughter. It would be great if that turned out to be true, but I am purely theorising at this moment in time.
Interesting. I mean, yeah. Obviously, Opaline has. Obviously, I've seen all of it. Seen all 8 episodes. But for me, I can't really do any theories at the moment because I don't think I've seen enough of it to really get any theories going. But the only thing is that with her being queen, as her title is queen, whether she's either given herself that title to make her sound more intimidating, or is she a queen of a different land? Is she kind of the ruler of a different place? I don't know. The way that they talk about her in when the episode where Misty goes around for the sleepover, basically in that episode, when she kind of retells the story from where Sunny has it from one perspective, which is obviously the true perspective, but then obviously you've got Misty's interpretation, which is what Opaline has said to her. So it's basically like saying that she was kind of like this evil queen that tried to overthrow Twilight. So, but obviously Twilight is the ruler of Equestria at that point in time. The only thing as well with me is what's interesting is I'm wondering if they've gone away with the idea of making her. Basically, Twilight's form is the form before she becomes full big alicorn, where she looks a little bit like Celestia.
Yeah, basically
So,
pre-time skip, because obviously you said we had the time skip in the last episode that was, I don't know, if I were to guess, 10, 15 years. So yeah, that's actually a good point. I didn't actually realise that when I watched it. But yeah, it's a good point to make.
Yeah, obviously that Twilight, when she did the recording, when you see the episode where you see that kind of fragmented recording of Twilight, that was obviously pre-Twilight, before the end of the finale of season 9. So I'm kind of thinking to myself, is that did Queen Opaline kind of, because obviously we never got season 10, so it's kind of making me wonder: is this could this have been the big bad for season 10? But they've made her the big bad for G5 instead. That's a theory on my part.
Well,
But
I've got.
it's just making me wonder with her being queen, because obviously with the state, obviously the way Twilight looks in when she represents herself in the message, that's obviously pre the finale. So I'm wondering if this all took place just before she took the reins over from Celestia and Luna.
What if? Okay, so obviously we're going down the route that obviously the G4 story as we know it, as we've seen, obviously in Friendship Magic, we're going on that as sort of the history, the background. But what if the past events that happened pre G5 are different? You know, what if, for example, not everything that happened in G4 happened the way it did in the G5 universe? What if the G5 universe is a different story altogether, and not everything is how it happened in G4?
Maybe. I mean, like I say, the way that the G4 characters and the whole legend of Twilight Sparkle has been spoken in G5 is more like a story, and you don't know how much of it is factual and is well. Obviously, we know some. Obviously, with watching all of Friendship Magic, we know what's right and what's not. We can understand and we can recognize what is obviously right, what actually did take place. But the fact that we never actually saw her make the basically the G5's version of the elements of elements of magic, whatever. So basically,
Elements of harmony, mate.
Harmony, sorry, I apologize. So basically, kind of like the elements of harmony, kind of in G5 is slightly different, isn't it? It's basically that lantern thing, the lighthouse. You know, that's kind of like the source of the magic in this version. But I don't know. It's just when I watched episode 8, to be honest, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, "Oh, that's the last episode." And I was kind of left with wanting more. You know.
Well, when is the next part out anyway? Do you know? Because I ain't got a clue myself.
There's actually no release date for the rest of the series for this year. The only thing that's slated for this year is a special, which
that might continue the story then.
I don't know, but no, from what I can gather, it's a holiday special for Christmas.
Right, so it probably won't have anything to do with the story then.
Yeah, basically, I believe it's a holiday one for Christmas. So I assume part 2 will probably be, whether it will be this year, later on this year, or
probably next year, mate.
It'll probably be next year. But we've got to wait practically not quite a year, but we've got to wait a while for the rest of the episodes. And the way that it ended, it didn't even end on a cliffhanger in a way. It just kind of ended. You know, it was just like a regular episode, and it ended. And I'm like, wait a minute, you could have at least given us at least another 2 more episodes, you know, to kind of end it on a cliffhanger or something. That was my only nitty thing with it. But I mean, my thoughts on chapter 2, because I haven't spoken about them yet on the channel. First time for me. But when I first started watching it, the first episode, I wasn't really too sure. Yes, as you said when you were talking, Sam, I agree. The animation is a lot better. The expressions, everything is a lot better. They don't feel like they are characters. They don't feel like drones with like expressionless. They did have expression. I'm happy that the animation is different, but I do believe I think it is a different company doing the main series. I think it's another company which we've already spoken about many times on the channel. I think it's another company, sorry, that is handling the specials. Hence why the The first special, the animation wasn't as good. But the animation was pretty much, it was very vibrant, it was beautiful, and I thought the animation was absolutely stunning. The only thing I did feel, the final render, final design, final thing for Opaline, I felt, it felt like she was unfinished. It felt like she wasn't completely finalized. It's just the rest of the characters looked perfect, in my opinion. But Opaline, I think it's because of her color choice, her color, her fair color. With it being such an intense color, it's almost as if I was kind of thinking to myself, you need a little bit more highlight in certain areas, like in a face, like not just be one straight color, more like kind of she has like a little bit of a break in there in order to so you can kind of enhance her features more. I just feel like she just needed a slight touch up, and I just felt like once the series went on, or once I watched all the 8 episodes, it seemed to be a little bit more improved. But the first couple of episodes, I felt like all I can describe it as is oversaturation. You know, when you have like an oversaturation thing on a camera, when it's like totally oversaturated.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I got from Opaline in the first so many episodes. Now and again, I just felt her face. It just kind of, because of how intense her color is, I just felt that I think they should have kind of used a secondary color to just help break it up a bit more, in order to kind of so she's not completely totally that color. I think with her fair, and obviously her main's fine. I'm on about more of her actual fair. Instead of it just being one continuous intense colour, I think they should have really. I know they did a little bit. You see, there's a little bit of white or something on her face, a little bit. But I just think that should have been a little bit more enhanced, a little bit more pronounced. I just feel like the rest of the characters look bloody perfect. I just felt that's the only nitty gritty thing with the animation for Chapter 2 for me, is just her character. It just felt not completely finished. It felt like it was like, basically like the stage before final render of a game or a film. And you just can't, it's practically just on the borderline of being finished, but it's not perfect, if you know what I mean. So that's basically what I saw of Opaline now and again. But yeah, I did enjoy it though. For as you said, it's no G4. It's not supposed to be G4. I can forgive that to a degree because it's not trying to be G4. It's trying to be its own series. These are their own characters, which I like. I do like the fact that it's not completely copying G4. It's its own thing. And they're not going down the whole Friendship is Magic kind of thing, which was obviously Friendship is Magic, which was G4. They're going down a different route with this one. Whether I think it's just going to be a little bit more of the story for, I think, the full season, once we get all the episodes for the series. I generally think it's just going to be more of a series of them discovering their abilities, because as you saw with Sunny, she was still struggling to don her unicorn ability, that when she brings on her wings and her horn, the alicorn power, yeah. So yeah, basically the whole alicorn power and everything. So she was struggling. She kind of was struggling to kind of understand how it works. He just comes on now and again, and then when she wants it to come on, it won't come on. So they're all, and obviously all the F ponies now can bloody grow plants. They've got their own magic, which is kind of an interesting thing. But for the most part, I did enjoy it. I thought the music was good. I really liked the intro. I love the intro song. I thought it was a nice upbeat song. it felt it had its own identity. That's what I'm
Oh,
trying
it
to
does. It should do. I mean, I've noticed as well that they've obviously created the next Brony greeting, haven't they? Because obviously originally it was Bro Hoof, now it's Hoof to Heart, which is obviously going to be the
Yeah.
new Brony greeting.
Yeah.
I expect many people to be doing that at PonyCon next week. But there's something else as well I wanted to mention. Now, no doubt you're probably aware that the original G5 idea was a complete retelling of G4, and it was going to be all the G4 characters.
Okay. No, I won't wear that.
Yeah, that if you look it up, there's a lot of concept art floating about now on like Equestria Daily, and the earlier concept was a G5 was going to be a retelling of G4, but it was going to be different. So, for example, Twilight Sparkle was going to be an Earth pony. She wasn't going to be a unicorn. She was still going to be a very studious character, still living in a library, but she's going to be like an inventor. And this is what's led me to a theory about Misty, because I've noticed Misty has a lot in common with Tempest Shadow. So I have a theory that Misty's character was originally meant to be what would have been G5 Tempest Shadow, but she was probably going to be in the original idea for G5. Because if you think about it, Tempest Shadow had a damaged pawn as soon as she couldn't use magic. Misty appears to not be able to use magic and therefore lacks a cutie mark. So I'm convinced that Misty is potentially originally may have well have been Tempest Shadow, and then eventually became Misty. Because some of the original ideas for G4, as I said, so Twilight was a studious Earth pony who was an inventor. That was her character for G5. Applejack was still an Earth pony, pretty much the same character, but had a bit of a different design. If I'm remembering it right, Fluttershy was now a unicorn, but still like the protector of the animals, effectively. And Pinkie Pie was now a Pegasus. Rarity was still a unicorn, but the theory is that Rarity was actually royalty, because there's a theory that in the original idea for G5 was she was actually going to be the mantle of the Princess Platinum, which she gets mentioned quite a lot. Apparently, Rarity was going to be Princess Platinum. She was going to be royalty, effectively. And then Rainbow Dash was still basically Rainbow Dash, but with a completely different design. So a lot of the earlier concept art, it's all on Equestria Daily now. So originally it looks like that the plan was originally G5 was a retelling of G4 with all the G4 characters, but they'd redesigned certain ones and retold the stories a bit differently. But obviously, whatever reason that happened, you've got the new G5. Also, I will say one thing about G5: the songs are just as good as G4, and I do like a lot of the songs that have popped up in just the film, but this current series as well. So they've definitely got the music going right as well for it.
Yeah, and I also feel that the voice actors as well, because obviously it's not the original voice. It's not the voice actors for the film. So they obviously recast for the series and for the YouTube series as well, as you know. But what I think is in this series, in chapter 2, I generally think they've kind of come into their own. I generally think their impression, because obviously they are doing an impression of what was done before a little bit. I generally think Sunny Star Scout, she sounds pretty much perfect. I really do. I think she sounds pretty much perfect. Izzy is my favourite personally, and I think she's really the new voice actor for Izzy in this series is pretty much practically Kimiko Glenn. She really does sound very similar. And then the rest, like Hitch and everybody, they all sound better. And also, I noticed, I don't know what other people thought, because if you remember, Sam, I think the last time we did a stream, possibly, we mentioned about Hitch in the. It was when we were talking about the special. And basically, a lot of people's impression of Hitch in the special compared to the movie, a lot of the fans of Hitch started to really get a bit worried because they generally thought that there was a drastic change to his character. Where, like in the film, in the movie or the film or whatever, for G5, in the film, he seemed a little bit more focused. He was the sheriff. He seemed a little bit. He was still a bit of a still a little bit clumsy and funny and everything here and there. But for the most part, he was kind of a little bit more. I'm the sheriff. I've got a bit of authority behind me, and he generally did a good job. But he had a different. He was kind of portrayed differently. But in the special, 45-minute special, the first one they did, a lot of fans of Hitch's character from the film, and I do agree, he became a lot more like Fluttershy, where he became a lot more anxious, a lot more scared, a lot more. You didn't really see him as the sheriff he didn't really see him as the sheriff. He was more or less kind of pulling his hair out all the time, kind of thing. So a completely different persona, same character, but just a completely different portrayal of the characters of that character. Well, everybody else were practically the same. So a lot of people were getting a bit concerned as the series went on, how the characters going to change, how they're going to, not as they've completely recast the characters, the cast, sorry, and everything. As it goes on, are we going to start to see that certain characters, their personalities, they're going to get changed in here and there and this, that, and the other. So some people were getting a bit concerned back then. So it'd be interesting to see what those people that were saying that the Hitch fans, it'd be interesting to see what the Hitch fans think about that. And now, what with Chapter 2 coming out, whether they've still got the same impression. I generally thought he did seem a lot more like his movie self in Chapter 2. He was a sheriff. You see, he donned his badge and his hat and everything, and he was doing his job. He was going around. He was, doing announcements and this, that, and the other. But now, obviously, it's more focused on the baby dragon, which I'm kind of intrigued of who he is. Obviously,
It's got interesting magic. He literally he's able to change things into other things. Whereas it says Spike's ability was that he could basically, or his dragon fire allowed him to transport messages, and I assume other things as well.
Yeah.
Whereas our new baby dragon in G5, his fire allows him to change things into things. It can even change like an apple into a butterfly, like a living butterfly. So you've got to ask yourself, like, that's a pretty powerful thing. So, as you say, where's he come from? We've got to find out more about him. So, yeah, he's definitely interesting.
Yeah, he is definitely interesting. I mean, it's like the magic abilities, like obviously in the episode where you see Sonny and Hitch, their personalities, their cutie marks got transferred between differently to each other, and all that. And it's kind of like it's got the ability to do that. He's got the ability to change something that is like a rock into a living creature, and then vice versa back, or to food so he can eat it. It's kind of amazing just of his ability, and also he seems to be drawn to the magic source as well. If you notice as well, he seemed to get really intrigued by, as if he somehow knew what it was. Even though he's only a baby and he's only kind of he's only just kind of hatched. I don't know how much time's passed between the film and the series.
Well, that's something I've thought about a lot myself. What is the passage of time? Now, let's look at it this way. So, G4 technology. So their technology was very much sort of like 1920s Britain. Very sort of late Victorian Edwardian time. So they had steam engines. They did have electricity. They had obviously, plumbing, like running water and stuff. They obviously had hot air balloons. So they were definitely at sort of like 1920s, 1930s style of technology. G5 is our technology. They've got computers, they've got phones, they've got cameras, they've got social media, so they're obviously a lot further along technology-wise, but the question is how much time has passed. Now, realistically, if you look at humans, if you think about it, in 100 years, we've gone from, you know, the most modern form of communication 100 years ago was a telephone. 100 years later, you know, everybody's got basically a pocket computer now, which is also a phone, you know, in 100 years. So we could state that between G4 and G5, there's 100 years have passed. But if it really is just 100 years, then for the pony tribes to split up, and, you know, for magic to leave, and for everything that's happened to happen in just 100 years, is a very short amount of time for all that to happen, especially for all the tribes to end up, you know, splitting apart. It's got to be a little bit more than 100 years. But
yeah.
And the other thing I would ask as well is what part of Equestria are they in? Like, where is Maritime Bay? Because they're obviously not anywhere near where G4 was set. So I'd be interested again. Will we perhaps see them exploring Equestria? Will they find Ponyville? Will they find Canterlot? Will they come across more information about Twilight and the main six? So I think, at least I hope, that the story will expand like that and we'll get to see more of this new world.
Yeah, I would like them to go out on adventures. I don't want it to just be them in Maritime Bay for the foreseeable, for all of the series. I understand these first 8 episodes. Yeah, okay. I mean, that is where they're based, is Maritime Bay. But personally, I would really like to see them explore that, like, a bit of adventure there. Because obviously, Sunny has some sort of knowledge because of her father and her mother as well. You know, they were into that kind of archaeology stuff, history and things of that nature. So it would be interesting to kind of see whether, and also what I liked as well, and I'm going off key here with this, but I did like the little nod, that little filly pony when Sunny was at her drink stand, and you get the little filly, and she's got a book, and Sunny just goes, "What are you reading there? Got a new book?" And she just says, "Yeah, I'm just talking about this princess and all of her friends and everything," and just like, and then she's got the elements of harmony. Yeah. I'm just like, that's the book you need. That's got all the answers in it.
Yeah, she even mentions the tree of harmony briefly as well, doesn't she? Yeah, she talks about a tree that grows these crystals of harmony. It's like, yeah, that's the tree of harmony. So I bet that character might come back into it later on. Yeah, that might well be a little nod to something that's going to happen later on.
I think they're going to be kind of like the Cutie Mark Crusaders of G5, I think, because them little fillies that are kind of like Pip's kind of like little fans, social media fans. Yeah, so I think they're going to be a little bit like the Cutie Mark Crusaders of G5 a little bit. They're going to kind of, you know, obviously the series is more focused on the main characters at the moment, but I generally
it doesn't really focus on any secondary characters at the moment.
Not at the moment, but they seem to come into it quite frequently though in the episodes. Though them 3 or 4 little ponies. Anyway, let's. We've got people in the chat actually. I do apologise. I've been seeing you. So I've got Nico. Nico's here. Hello to you, Nico. It says I personally liked Chapter 2. That's good to know. And it says, but yeah, it's no G4. It's not. But at the same time, as we already explained, I don't think that's a bad thing. I like a series that has its own identity, even though it still is canon to G4. But I like that the characters are their own characters, and I like that the world's different a little bit, and things have changed. I like that. It's a different. Some people don't like, they can't grasp the concept of difference sometimes. But I don't want a carbon copy of G4, just 3D. That just, to me, I just say that's a cop out, in my opinion. I don't know what Sam thinks about that, but
It would have been a bit, yeah. I mean, it would have been interesting to see it like that, but at the same time, it makes more sense to do as they've done an entire new thing for the next generation. It does make more sense.
Yeah. Nico, again, I gotta wonder, how are they going to explain what happened between G4 and G5? Yeah, that's interesting because they're starting to answer plot hole questions that the film and from the film that started all together. We're starting to get little bits here and there. I've noticed where we're getting little bits more of information now and again, little bits. But like I say, we've only got 8 episodes so far. When we're going to get the rest, any more episodes, I'm hoping that they're just going to release the rest of them as just one big shrink. I don't know. I think Netflix have gone and released the first 8 just to test the waters. I think
possibly.
I think that's where they've gone, or we're just going to get 8 episodes every so long until all of it's done. I don't know, but anyway. But yeah, it will be interesting to see whether we'll finally get. I would like it to see if we finally get a number of how many years it's been, how many years it's been between the events of G4 and beginning of G5, where we are now in the present timeline. I would like to know a number. That is something I would like to know. Yeah. Alpha. Hello to you, Alpha.
Alpha.
He also said about coming on the stream, but we'll see how we go because I don't have very long tonight because I'm at work in the morning, and so is Sam. So we're doing this a bit later. We're doing this a little bit later than planned, so it's not going to be as long as normal streams.
We'll probably arrange a little bit of a longer one later on. I can't do next weekend. I'm away in Nottingham, but weekend after.
Mm-hmm. Nico again, not gonna lie, I hate Sparky, like for real. Can't stand him at all. I mean, to be honest, he's not the best character at all. I must admit, I prefer Spike personally. He's a baby dragon, but
more of a character. I give that. Yeah. Sparky is the definition of a baby dragon, because that's the whole idea. His character really is. He's in a lot of ways he's supposed to be the marketing bit. He's the thing that they want to market because they want to sell loads of Sparky stuff. But yeah, I can understand what Nico's saying on that one. Spike's a character, Sparky isn't. Sparky's more of a, how could I put it? He's really there for the kids, really.
Yeah, basically what you've got here is obviously My Little Pony. Its original audience is preschool or nursery. Here in the UK, it's nursery, but in America or whatever, it's preschool. So basically, any age from about 4 to 6 is kind of the demographic My Little Pony is more aimed at. But because of the influx of older fans, as we know, with the Brony fandom and everything being picking up around about season 3 of Friendship is Magic. So when that all started kicking off and everything, and they then noticed that there was a huge interest with a much older demographic. So as the series went on, they started to bring in much more. A lot of different pop culture references and like Doctor Who and certain things like that and all these different things. And as you saw in the G5 movie, they did that a little bit in the movie with movie posters and things like that. And with this series as well, they're bringing in things like social media, YouTube, kind of knick-knack YouTube, but everybody knows YouTube. So they are starting to more bring it into the now with the technology, with social media, with streaming, with that kind of stuff. They're bringing it into the now, which kids nowadays will understand.
Yeah.
And also more your teens. Yeah. So it's
trying to bring in more of an audience through that.
Yeah. So you can see they're trying to bring in a broader audience. There's still some things for the older demographic that I think they could hit on. Like they did for the movie, where the movie Jaws in the background, Terminator and stuff like that. But time will tell, I guess. I assume. But yeah, Sparky. Sparky's a bit. It's not the best, but maybe when he starts to talk and becomes his own character, whether they do that or not, whether they just keep him a baby for the whole foreseeable of the series, or whether he does grow up a little bit and he starts to get his own personality, maybe he might be a better character.
Maybe. I mean, what was it? 6 seasons was it that for Spike to get his wings? Can't quite remember. Was it season 6 he gets his wings?
I can't remember now. It was a while.
It's either season 5 or season 6, but yeah, it basically takes a hell of a long time. And to be fair, I nitpicking here, but it took forever for Spike to become really a character. I mean, originally he was really a minor character. He was comic relief, and then finally he started to get his own episodes. I mean, the best Spike episode is the Times of Changeling, where he first meets Thorax. That is a brilliant episode. That is Spike's episode. It really is. And it's probably the only episode where Spike really gets to shine as a character. But yeah, with Sparky, we'll see. I mean, again, it depends how long G5 is planned for. As you say, we've got a special coming for Christmas, and then probably, well, I'd say part 2 of the series next year and so on. So we'll see what happens with Sparky. But I am very curious to know about just exactly how his magic works, because as you say, it's a very unique magic.
It is. Sparky's magic is very interesting. He's just, as a character at the moment, he's the baby. So he's got nothing really to offer the series at the moment, but a bit of interest of how powerful magic-wise he is. Hopefully for Sparky, we might find out some more answers, a little bit more about where he came from, for instance.
Well, just hypothetically, mate, let me ask you something. So obviously, as we know, Sparky's egg washed up on the beach.
Yep.
So, do you think his egg was either somehow generally ended up in the sea and got just washed up into Maritime Bay, it's purely accidental, or do you think he was purposely sent there? Because I get the strong impression that his fire, his magic, which is obviously he needs fire, that's the source Opaline needs to get her magic back.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be a reason. The fact that he just happens to show up and he just happens to be the key that Opaline needs. So, again, I don't know if this is all, if we're ever going to find out, because we never find out where Spike's egg came from. Like, how did Celestia get hold of a dragon egg? Like, you never find that out. You never find out who his parents are, which is one massive thing about Spike's character that still annoys me. That they never gave him an ending, that you never find out his origins. I would love to have known who his parents were and how he ended up in the possession of Celestia. I'd love to know all that.
Yeah. It would be nice if they kind of, with G5 and bringing in another baby dragon that isn't Spike, because obviously Spike has had, since My Little Pony started, there's always been Spike as the dragon. This is the first iteration of the MLP where there's no Spike, it's now Sparky, which is practically meant to be their version of Spike, obviously. But basically, it's kind of like, he's an interesting character, magic-wise. I'm hoping that as the series goes on, maybe kind of like there might be a slight gap of maybe a couple of months or a year, and he maybe starts to kind of talk, and he can he can communicate. But once he starts to talk and communicate, and he's not just like that all the time, I'm hoping he kind of becomes a little bit more of his character, a bit more of a character. But yeah, it's interesting of where they're going with it, though. I am kind of intrigued. Right, where we going here? Alpha Swell, he says, I can honestly agree. I really don't like him as much. So Alpha also isn't a big fan either. Well, then Nico come back saying, but Misty, on the other hand, Misty is a precious treasure, best G5 character, period.
Yeah,
I'll have to argue with that. Izzy is the best, but Misty is certainly growing on me.
Misty's grown on me quite a lot. I mean, I say I'm still a big Sunny fan, but Misty is definitely a very close second for me as my favourite G5 character. She's quite adorable, and I want to know more about her. Like, why doesn't she have a cutie mark? Why can't she use magic? That Opaline sort of found her, and why she's like kind of living with Opalines. Like, why? What's her backstory? I'd love to know more. But yeah, at the same time, I really want to give her a hug. she definitely needs a hug.
Yeah,
But yeah, she's a close second for me on characters for G5.
Yeah, she is a great character. I mean, I do like her. She's just a bumbling mess. She's kind of like, she's obviously got no confidence in herself because she's constantly being battered down by Opaline, or whatever you want to call her. So basically, it's kind of like you've got a character that is kind of appealing to those with anxiety. Is that she is a character that has extreme anxiety issues and confidence problems, which will appeal to quite a lot of people that have watched the show, which is kind of an interesting take on a character. She is interesting. I do like her. I mean, I'm more interested in, like, obviously, as it's explained in I think one of the first 2 episodes of chapter 2, when Opaline is talking to her, to Misty, and saying that, when I found you, kind of thing, when I found you, as an orphan, she's an orphan, so she was kind of just like found as a filly with no parents or anything around her. So it's interesting that obviously she's been found. Obviously, she was homeless. She was parentless at that point in time, and she's kind of been bringing her up, but obviously bad.
Well, that's how Tempest Shadow met the Storm King, because we know Tempest Shadow. Obviously, she used to live in a village somewhere in Equestria. She got injured when she had a run-in with a creature from the Everfree Forest. I forget what the creature was called. And then obviously she ends up leaving because of a damaged magic and everything, and she ends up being found by the Storm King when she's just a child. So yeah, in a lot of ways, again, it's why I think Misty is potentially the G5 version of Temper Shadow. But yeah, there's a lot I want to know about Misty. I really do want to know more about her character.
Also, this is a theory, or it's probably just kind of very obvious. I generally think she's going to run away from Opaline at some point, and she's going to become part. I think she's going to become the next main character.
Well, interestingly, you should say that, mate. There's an interesting fan theory knocking about at the moment. A lot of people are considering this, and it's a really interesting theory. So obviously, as we know, that the series as a whole is called Make Your Mark.
Yep.
So there's a theory that the actual main story is about Misty and about her eventually getting her cutie mark. There's a theory that she's secretly the main character. That this whole theory is about it.
Possibly. I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, with her she doesn't have a cutie mark, and she's about the same age as Sunny and the rest of them, I would assume. Maybe a little bit younger. So her not getting a cutie mark at her age is kind of a bit abnormal, because, as you know, they usually get their cutie marks when they're fillies or colts when they're young. But obviously, she hasn't really had the influence there in order to obtain a cutie mark. She's not really been in any environment to shine, to show what she's good at, because she doesn't have any confidence in herself, so she doesn't have that drive that the rest of them do.
That makes my head hurt. I just had a thought. And it's hurting my head because, okay, right. Okay, so G5 film, there's no magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ponies still get cutie marks. Why is that? It just occurred to me, if there's no magic, how do all the unicorns, Pegasi, earth ponies, how do they still get cutie marks if there's no magic? It just occurred to me that That's a bit of a bit of a loophole there. It's a little bit of an error. Is there
It
any?
is a little bit.
Are they going to explain that? Because it just occurred to me that they were still getting cutie marks despite the fact there was no magic. So,
Yeah.
how would a unicorn guess a cutie mark? Because most of the time, the cutie marks would be something to do with their magic. Rarity's cutie mark was the fact she had an innate ability to detect gems and crystals and precious stones. Twilight's obviously was linked into her magic. Fluttershy linked into her ability to talk to animals. So if there was no magic, how were they still getting cutie marks?
I don't know, unless there was still kind of a little lingering amount of power, a magic ability, but or it's more or less like the magic is from within. I don't know. Kind of like
I thought I'd be interested to know if there's
I
an
don't
answer
know.
to that.
It's an interesting thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's something that they need to talk about, isn't it? Potentially, maybe it is a kind of a plot hole error that they didn't think of at the time, but it is certainly interesting. I mean, obviously, Misty, I do love a character, and generally, obviously, I think it's kind of obvious she's going to run away and probably be. I think she's because obviously I did hear like early on before when the series was in production, before we got any any release dates or anything, that there was potentially going to be more main characters. There was going to be more new characters that were going to be also main characters, potentially added to the roster. So because obviously at the moment we've got Zip, Pip, or Princess, whatever she is, but I call her Pip because it's easier. But Zip, Pip, Izzy, Sunny, and Hitch. 5. But there's always like with Frenchman's Magic, for instance, there was 6 because obviously they brought in Starlight Glimmer. So I'm generally thinking that are they going to bring in a 6th? Is Misty going to be that 6th one? Because the way the elements of harmony works and things of that nature, there's I think how many is there? There's about six elements.
The 6 elements of harmony, but again, there was always the long-running theory that there was a 7th element because effectively Sunset Shimmer is a 7th element, and then that led to the big theory. Even before Equestria Girls, there was a theory that Spike was secretly a 7th element. So, yeah.
So I'm wondering if maybe one of the element bearers will be Sparky in this series.
Well, technically, there are no elements that we know of in G5.
Not at the moment. It's slightly different, but generally that kind of method is still there, but it's just in a different form, isn't it? So, because obviously with Frenchman's Magic, the way the magic worked in that series was different. It was like the magic was friendship. It was loyalty. It was this. It was that. That they were kind of labeled as certain things.
Yeah. Whereas
but in this series, it's
the power of unity. It's coming together. Although I am fairly certain that I think it's pretty obvious to state, but I'm pretty certain that Sunny's alicorn power is directly linked to her emotional state. I think like the happier she is, the more positive she is, the stronger it becomes, and the easier it is for her to control it. And the less happy, less positive, depressed, all that negative emotions, it becomes harder to control. So I think her powers are heavily based on emotion.
It is, yeah. And Alpha says agreed to Misty, and then says that Zip is his favorite character. I do like Zip. I wasn't too sure on Zip when I first saw the movie. I was a bit don't know, but in chapter 2, she's kind of growing on me as well. Pip, on the other hand, I found quite annoying personally because she's all right. She's a good character. Some people I can understand some fans out there will probably gravitate towards her because of her being a social media kind of thing. But she's too much into her phone. She's too much into kind of constantly wanting to create a new music track or something. Or yes, it's funny for comic relief factor, but it's it's as a long running thing, I think it's going to get a bit annoying. But for me, I like Zip. I think she's kind of a fresh, a breath of fresh air, so to speak, in a way with a character, because she's not a stereotypical female character. She is not into makeup. She's happy to go all natural. She is who she is, and she don't do the makeup thing as you see in chapter 2, because obviously Pip's got all that makeup all over the place, and she's like, "What's all this stuff?" And she's like, "Oh, makeup, obviously." And then she goes, "Okay," kind of puts it back. So she doesn't do the makeup thing, So it's kind of like she's a minimalistic character. She is who she is. She loves her gadgets. She loves all that stuff, and that's what I love about her, because she loves her gadgets, and I love my gadgets as well. So, but for me personally, Izzy's my favourite. I would say probably Misty's my second favourite, and Pip's my third. Zip's my third. Sorry, I get mixed up with those two. Yeah, but yeah. So, but for the most part, though, overall, obviously when I watched the last episode, like I said earlier in the stream, when I was watching it, I generally didn't realize I was on episode 8, and then I watched it, and then it came on with no other episodes and showing me other options of what recommended stuff to watch next or whatever, and I'm like, oh, okay, because obviously in the last episode you see obviously Misty had failed again, but managed to get some of the dragon fire. A bit of an argument again between them both, and then she was crying, which was the last time we saw them. But part of me's thinking in the next chapter, I generally think she's possibly going to run away.
Well,
in the next bunch of episodes, I think she might run away. I don't think straight away, but I think she's going to run away.
She's definitely getting more attuned to the main 5 and getting involved and changing, which is great. But yeah, you're probably right. You very likely will.
Yeah, because you can kind of see in the sleepover episode when she gets when Izzy invites her over for the sleepover with everybody, you can kind of see she even though she's very nervous because obviously she's never made a friend. She's the only other person she's ever really known is Upperline, and the negativeness that comes from her. That's all she's ever known. She's never known kindness, and she doesn't know how to process that. So, and obviously with Izzy being very full on energy, like Pinky, very full on. As you saw, she was struggling to understand and comprehend that kind of thing because she's not used to that, obviously. So it's kind of interesting that obviously with that sleepover episode, you can see that she's guilty of what she did, trying to steal the lantern. Even though everybody, Sunny and her friends and everything were being real nice to her, supportive, playing games, and she was enjoying herself for the first time in her life. And you can kind of see that glints there that that's the life she really does want, but in the back of her mind, she's loyal to Upperline to try and make her happy. But yet she keeps failing all the time because she doesn't have the confidence. She's so scared of everything and her surroundings. So I think her character's very interesting, and I generally think I'm hoping that they're not going to pull a Spike, and that it sounds like they're doing something, and that they just don't go with it. I'm hoping with Sparky, if they do make him a character and he starts to talk in time and becomes his own character, I hope he just doesn't stay as a bubbling baby, because otherwise he's just going to be a wasted character. But at the end of the day, I'm hoping he does start to talk, and there might be a slight little bit of a time gap or whatever, with being a baby and he gets a bit older, kind of thing. It would be interesting to see if he does become his own thing.
I'm sure he will. I mean, I've no doubt they'll announce later on what the plans are for the rest of G5. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty of character development to look forward to. I'm really hoping there is as well.
I mean, like I say, so far some questions have been answered a little bit in regards to certain things, but it's sort of just kind of been touched on at the moment. But there's still a lot of questions to be answered. There's still a lot of character development. Obviously, the development so far for the rest of them, Sunny and everybody, is more or less just getting to understand their power, their magic ability. Because obviously, as I explained earlier in the stream, about my thoughts on it, is obviously like Sunny, she's still struggling to. Well, obviously, she figures it out in the end in chapter 2. She figures it out a little bit that obviously she needs to feel a certain way for the power to come on. Usually, if maybe I think something's going to happen, I think she's going to. This is just a theory on my part, but I think something's going to happen either at the hands of Opaline, maybe a friend, maybe one of them's going to get captured or something by her or something, or something with Misty. Maybe, I don't know, something. I think some character that she has, she loves or whatever, has a strong bond with. I think something's going to happen. I don't think nothing really nasty. I just think something's going to happen, and I generally think we're going to see a different side to Sunny a little bit more like Twilight. Obviously with Twilight is kind of excuse me, like Twilight is kind of, as you see in French Magic, Twilight, her character, she's like this bubbling, antisocial kind of character at the beginning. And then as she gets to know her friends, starts to get more social, she still has anxiety, panic attacks, which we see now and again, which is kind of funny to see, where she kind of flips out. But she does become a lot more focused. And when it comes to the nitty-gritty, when it comes to fighting a big bad like Tyrek, etc., and Chrysalis and so on. So, I'm generally thinking that we might maybe see that side of Sunny. At the moment, we're seeing her nice side, her pleasant side, but I generally think that we're probably going to see some skirmishes. Obviously, hopefully we are going to see a couple of maybe some fights, maybe. Whether they're going to do the fight thing, I don't know, but I'm hoping there's going to be some sort of skirmish, some sort of something that might happen with Queen Opaline, maybe, and a character is either kidnapped or in front of her something happens, and then she just dons her power. She just goes full on. It'd be interesting to just see that side of her, or whether that's going to happen. Because as you see, that obviously it needs to have a certain trigger for that to come on, for her power to come on, and so it's going to be interesting because obviously her magic ability is more centered to her emotions, so which is kind of interesting. But again, who knows? I guess. But yeah, I love I love the music. I love the intro. I never skipped the intro once during watching all the 8 episodes. I just played it because it was a good intro. Yeah, I just like it. It has its own energy, has its own identity. It just happens to still be connected, or still happens to be canon to Frenchman's Magic, but it's its own thing. They're their own characters. It's its own story. It's not Frenchman's Magic anymore. It's more about unity, magic unity. It's not really about friendship, even though it is still got the friendship side there, but it's not fully focused on the friendship thing like French Magic was, obviously, because the clues in the name. With this being Make Your Mark, I generally think, as you said, Sam, where there's a theory going around with the title as Make Your Mark, whether it, as you say, it's probably going to be focusing on Misty.
Just to confirm for you, mate, real quick, we do have a release date for the special, 21st of November.
21st of November for is it the holiday one? Does it say?
Holiday special? Yeah, it's called. It's got a name. I'll give you the name in a second as soon as this page loads. It's been slow. Come on.
I mean, I'm hoping they don't leave us hanging too long. I'm hoping that they will release, because it would be nice if we could get like another 8 episodes before the end of the year, so we're not waiting a whole year for 8 more episodes. But the thing is, with Netflix at the moment, most stuff's only been so many episodes. I've even noticed the Japanese animation, the anime that's been going up on there, the Japanese stuff. A lot of the series have been kind of limited to between 8 to 10 episodes, which is like most anime basic series are at least 13 episodes, 12 to 13.
Right. Okay, so according to this, it's 4 specials, right?
Yeah.
And the first special, let's see, it's 21st of November. It's called Winter Wish Day.
Winter Wish Day. All right. So it'd be more like a holiday one, I guess.
Yeah, what's interesting to me though, it also states, right, 23 times 22 minutes. So obviously 4 times 44 minutes. So the specials are 44 minutes each. So I'm assuming then that means there's 23 episodes altogether then.
I assume so, yeah. Because there is more than 8 episodes, because you can tell there's obviously going to be more because the way it ends. Because the way they ended it, it wasn't really on a cliffhanger or anything. And it was just like, wait a minute. It was just a regular episode. And ending it there doesn't really make much sense to me. That's my only nitty-gritty thing about it, the way it ended.
Based off this information, it looks like then we've got at least another 3 parts to G5, not including the specials. If you just include the series, then there's going to be 3 more parts, so it's 4 parts plus 4 specials.
Okay. So obviously they're doing it in chapters, aren't they? Instead of seasons, they're doing it in chapters.
So it'll be about 8 episodes a piece, roughly.
It'd be interesting to see if there's going to be more than 24 episodes, or is G5 just going to be this?
Well, the information presented states, and this was released earlier. This was a brief that was released. It just states it as a total of 23 episodes, unless there's plans for more after that. But at the moment,
I generally think they're probably waiting on reception. I think they'll probably be waiting on reception. I think the reason why they've gone with chapters, 8 episodes, 10 episodes at a time, I generally think they're doing that to see how it's received. And then obviously they'll be still in process because obviously they'll still be working on all the rest of the episodes as well, yet to be aired. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm generally interested. I mean, obviously, I was really getting into it as well, and then got to episode 8, and the way it ended, and I was like, oh, okay, so you're going to do that, are you? Whether the next special is just going to be a standalone thing, but I've heard everything's supposedly supposed to be connected. The Netflix stuff is all connected. It's all connected in its own thing. Even the specials are connected, apparently. But I have a feeling the next special is going to be more of the seasonal one.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's coming up to Christmas, so it makes sense having a more of a festive one. But I don't know. But usually holiday specials usually are more on their own, aren't they? Usually. Yeah. So, but who knows? We'll soon find out in November, I guess, and see how it goes. Anything else you want to say, Sam, in regards to it? Because obviously I think we're going to probably finish it soon anyways, because I think we've spoken.
Nothing comes to mind, mate. I mean, I'll probably end up doing another video or 2 on the channel, because there's a few things I want to discuss. But nothing comes to mind for the moment, mate. I'm quite happy to finish up if you are.
All right then. Well, yeah. I mean, it's been a nice little discussion. I mean, we've finally done our live stream, even though it was a little bit late. But obviously, we were going to do it last night, but I couldn't last night. So we finally done it. We finally got the chapter 2. We finally got our taste of what the series could be. I've seen a lot of people. There's been obviously, I think nearly every major Brony channel's been talking about it, or anyone that's within the Brony fandom have been talking about it. I've noticed some people asking the questions: have Netflix killed My Little Pony? I saw one video, which should be interesting. I mean, end of the day, it's gotta be an interesting thing. I don't think every fan's gonna like it.
No.
Because
it is what it is on that part.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you can't make everybody happy. I think some fans was expecting it to generally be Friendship is Magic. They were expecting it to be more like Friendship is Magic because of it being canon. A lot of things mentioned, Twilight Sparkle in the trailer, and in Chapter 2, we see Twilight, even though it's more of a magic message, kind of like a Star Wars kind of deal thing, even though, so the fact that, it is all canon, I think because some people do not like change. Some people don't like change. Once you get something like Friendship is Magic, and I understand it to a certain degree, Friendship is Magic was a special series. It was good. Characters were great. Most of the stories was good. Most of the writing, to a degree, was good as well. For the most part, this Friendship Magic was a big success for Hasbro, and the fans loved it. With Make Your Mark, it's not trying to be Friendship is Magic. It's being its own thing, even though it's still within the world. It's still sharing the same world, even though there's as we know, a massive time gap. But obviously, the reception for the movie was really good. A lot of fans really loved the film. Some didn't, weren't too sure. Then when we got the special, there was a lot of not too sure. Mostly down to the animation not being very good or as polished. But generally, it took a while for anything to happen in the special, didn't it? It was more like the final 15, 20 minutes of it or whatever, or the last like 10 minutes of it or whatever was where things started getting interesting. And then obviously the reveal of Opaline as well, Queen Opaline, which got everybody kind of intrigued that we're finally getting a baddie, which is interesting. And then obviously Sparky as well, and all that kind of coming into it. Another baby dragon. So, for me personally, it's encouraging. I mean, me personally, obviously, this is my opinion. Everyone's going to be different, have a different thought process when it comes to it. Not every fan's going to like it. Some people are going to find it a bit polarizing, but I generally think you've got a good mix of characters there.
Yeah,
every character kind of perfectly emulates real life people and feelings and thoughts. And personalities. You got Sunny that is quite confident. She likes her books. She likes her history. She's interested. Now that obviously the magic's come back, she's very much about trying to keep it as let people just feel the magic. Let people be. She's that kind of character. Then you got Izzy, which is the party animal. She's kind of like this version of, obviously, she's Pinkie Pie, G5 Pinkie Pie, but she's very much more the party guy, the party pony, basically. And then obviously Zip, Pip, those two characters, you basically got your social media guru with Pip. And then with Zip, she's more like your natural female character. She's not like a stereotypical one, which I really like about her. I really like the fact that she's not a stereotypical female character. That's what I really like about her, personally, is in most things when it comes to girls' cartoons, which is obviously My Little Pony was originally aimed at girls more than boys. I found it very interesting because to have a character that isn't really into makeup, she's not into taking photos or selfies. she's her own character, but it's refreshing to have a character like that is more appealing in a series that is more appealing towards girls, because in this day and age there's too much of that glossy mags, pressure to look a certain way, makeup, hair, all that kind of stuff, jazz. There's a lot of pressure in the world on girls and also boys as well. And I found that very refreshing to have a character like Zip in this series, where that kind of stuff doesn't interest her. So if there's a person out there watching that's watching Make Your Mark Chapter 2, I can see, they're going to say, "Oh, she's like me. I'm not really into my makeup. I'm not really into lathering it on, that kind of thing. And I'm not a girly girl. I'm more of a tomboy and this kind of thing." Because she's more of a tomboy, isn't she? She's she's basically like the Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash was the tomboy for Fredbear's Magic, and Zip is the tomboy for a tomboy character for G5. So, and then obviously you've got Hitch. Obviously, he's more kind of like, I don't really know how you could describe Hitch. Really, I don't know, but to be honest, I don't know how you could describe Hitch. To be honest, he comes over a little bit. I get a lot of Applejack in him, but at the same time, he's not as confident as Applejack. At the same time, I feel he's a combination of Applejack and Fluttershy, where you get a big Fluttershy feel, because obviously he can communicate with animals, which is obviously the Fluttershy idea behind it. But yet, with him being like in authority, he's a sheriff, is law enforcement. I generally get the Applejack feel from that side of him, where he dons the hat and everything, and his colour, his fair, his colour is kind of very similar to the colour for Applejack, similar kind of colour. But yeah, for the most part though, on an ending note, it's been a nice little discussion. I just want to say thank you to Alpha, as always, to Nico. Alpha and Nico, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us and expressing your thoughts on it as well. Always a pleasure. But yeah, I found it very encouraging. I'm looking forward to see what comes next, and hoping they don't do a Frenchman's Magic where it comes to where they start. You can obviously see the building up to something, and it doesn't happen. I'm hoping that the people behind this, because there is still some people that worked at Fredbear's Magic working on this as well. So I'm hoping those people have learnt their mistakes a little bit, or Hasbro have learnt that they did mess up a little bit in regards to certain aspects of Fredbear's Magic, as more of the latter seasons, where obviously Spike, you see that obviously they were trying to set Spike up to be an element bearer potentially. And then they kind of dropped him, and he didn't see him for a while, and he just came in now and again, which was a wasted effort there. And then there was certain other aspects, like Tempest Shadow. She was supposed to come into it after the movie, and she didn't. They just kind of give her more of a... she just was there in the finale, season 9 finale, in the background kind of thing. So there were certain things that they were going to do, but they didn't. And I just hope that they learn their mistakes. And I generally hope that... I'm asking too much here. At the end of the day, it's a cartoon, it's an animated series, so I'm probably thinking way too much for it. But I just hope that they realise some of the mistakes, and whatever they are setting up, whatever they are working on, they stick to that path. They don't go off it like they did with Fredbear's Magic in certain aspects. I generally hope that they just stick to a specific path that they want to work towards and just go with it. That's all I'm asking. What would be your thoughts on that, Sam?
No, just as you said, it's too early in the day to really give a full opinion. I'm waiting to see more. I want to see what the next special is, the next episodes. But yeah, I'm hoping for a lot more character development. I want to know more about Opaline and Misty and Sparky Dragon. You know, I want to know more about that. I am looking forward to
Yeah, same here. So yeah, then that's going to be us tonight. So thank you so much for watching. If you have come in during the stream, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you again to Alpha and to Nico for coming in and chatting with us in the chat there. But obviously, we won't be back for another stream for at least another week or two. No, maybe 2 weeks. So obviously, as Sam said earlier in the stream before people started coming in, obviously it's UK PonyCon or PonyCon UK, whatever, next weekend. I sadly won't be there because again, I can't really. I don't have any other. I don't have any holiday available now because I've had other stuff going on, other conventions and holidays that I had booked. So unfortunately, Sam won't be available. So what we're going to do is if we do another stream, it'll probably be in 2 weeks' time, probably on the Saturday or the Sunday. So probably might do a stream then. And also we'll keep our eyes open if there's any more information. Obviously, we've got in November 21st. There's the second special, which we assume, by the title of it, it's going to be a seasonal one for Christmas, I guess. More like winter kind of feel to it. So, yeah, so we've still got some more pony goodness to look forward to coming up, at least. But yeah, that's going to be us for tonight. So, we've been the Bronies UK. We've been John and Sam tuning out again. So, thank you again for the support. I apologise. We've been gone for about a month, I think. The last time we did a stream was a month ago. So we do apologise for the long gaps between streams. It's just life. I've been on holiday. I had like 10 days away holiday. And obviously I've been back at work. This has been my first week back at work. Coming into my second week now. So yeah, I've been a bit busy and preoccupied with other things. So thank you again, though, for the support on the channel. We both really do appreciate it. But yeah, so hopefully, maybe, because we've got StreamYard and it's perfect, I might see if my good buddy Lawrence has been watching it. We might be able to, maybe the next stream, we might be able to get our honourable third member of the Bronies UK. He doesn't come on very often. It's very rare. But maybe we might be able to get our good friend Lawrence on a stream as well in the future and talk about G5 and what his thoughts were on G5 as well. Because I know he still likes his MLP, but he's been moving on to other stuff a little bit as well. But we'll see how that goes. But anyway, so that's me. So anything else you want to say, Sam, before we go?
thanks for everyone that's joined us. It's been good to have you.
Aye. So that's it. Thank you very much, everybody. And enjoy the rest of your Sunday or wherever it is, and have a good week. And we'll be back in about maybe a couple of weeks' time for another stream or another video or whatever. But yeah. But anyway, see you soon, people.
Take care, everyone. Bye.